A young boy sits in a crowded bus to school. A girl from his class sits next to him and he can't help but hearing loud music from her earphones. It's a Dire Straits song and the boy loves this band as much as he loves ABBA. They have a chat and the girl's name is Julie, nicknamed Tall Julie at school. The boy is Samuel and he falls in love with her. At some point, at home, he picks up a notebook and starts a diary. This is Samuel and I will think about this show for the rest of my life.
Je m'appelle Samuel, j'ai 10 ans et j'ai un problème. Mais bon, j'ai pas trop envie d'en parler.
Everyone would see exactly why you mean the whole goddamn motherfucking world to me, yeah!
So Samuel is an animated show created by Émilie Tronche, a French creator who studied at EMCA in Angoulême and got the idea of the show back in 2020. It is 21 episodes long for a rough total runtime of 19 minutes, and it got broadcasted by French-German channel Arte on the internet on March 2024. Main series aside, some bonus episodes were made and uploaded on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, thus creating a generational phenomenon in France with dozens of millions of total views. So as you guessed, the show is basically the life of a boy named Samuel, and we get to experience a part of his life not only from his perspective but also from his own written narration. See, every episode is an entry in the journal and every comment is handwritten. Furthermore, every character is voiced by the single main voice actor Émilie Tronche, strengthening the subjective aspect of the show being from a boy's perspective. If Samuel were to be defined with a genre, it would probably be a coming-of-age romance. The love story Samuel has with Julie is basically the main premise of the show and it will constantly be important in the boy's development, and as such the characters growing and learning is only more powerful as we literally watch them grow up. To me, Samuel excels at keeping all of its strong points together and achieves a bittersweetness I've never seen anywhere else. I would be lying if I said Samuel is a devastating, heartbreaking, super sad piece of media. It's definitely not. It's a blast to watch, it's funny, it's great, but man, I mean... So Mob Psycho 100 is an anime adapted from a manga written by One. It's the story of a young boy psychic named Mob who is friends with a con man masquerading as an exorcist named Reagan. The particularity with Mob being that he has a constantly increasing percentage related to his feelings, and he unleashes strong powers when this percentage gets to 100. But aside from the main action-packed storyline, Mob Psycho has also tons of slice-of-life sections. We get to see the school life of Mob as an awkward kid and also his crush on the popular girl in class. There's this scene towards the end of the show where after everything we've seen, after even the climax of the final arc, Mob finally gets to confess to the girl he loves and gets rejected. And this moment has such a beauty about it, about the sheer innocence of a boy getting his first love rejection. After everything, he's of course changed from the beginning, but he's also still a kid, and that's kind of precious to me. But what I wanted to get at is this very specific feeling of a clever media featuring kids. Both Samuel and Mob has this thank you little boy kind of vibe. Samuel is not awkward, he's a fun guy, not too popular nor marginalized. He's also kind of an ass sometimes because he just reacts without thinking too much as a more mature person would do. No characters in the show feel too cliché, they're all interesting and engaging by being simple. So yeah, as for the main characters, our boy, of course, Samuel, Julie, the main focus of the love story, and Berenice, the slightly weirder girl who has a crush on Samuel. There are other side characters I really enjoy, but more on them later. So the story revolves around another classic thing, which is a kind of love triangle, but I really like the fact it's a love triangle that considers what love is to kids, something very different than later in life, something pretty short and shy even. Liking someone as a kid always feels a bit silly, often a subject of mockery, but it's also getting to experience those very, very strong feelings for the first time, and that's one of my favorite things that is done in Samuel. How being in love as a kid feels from the inside, start to finish. Now I can finally get to talk about the first part of the show. There was a moment when I watched this show where I felt like, okay, this is something else, like, really. It's a realization that came over the whole series, and especially the whole first half of it. But there was a particular episode that just got me. Episode 5 is basically kids singing together. The whole class has to sing Un homme heureux by William Sheller, a pretty famous French song about a man eager to feel happiness by being in love like other people do. In this episode we get one of the most epic Dimitri moments. Dimitri is the popular kid. Samuel hates this guy because he thinks of him as a pretentious prick, a show-off. So of course when Dimitri asks if he can perform the chorus after the part they all had to learn, Samuel is pissed. But then this annoying side character is singing his heart out. It's powerful, it's touching, time stops for a moment, enough time for Samuel to imagine his own wedding with Julie as Dimitri bursts with his car and asks the love of his life out like the ending of a romance movie, and they leave. This only makes more sense when later Dimitri asks Julie out and she says yes. And like, there's kind of a lot. We need to talk about the use of music in Samuel. This show has a deeply musical storytelling, often basing its most iconic scenes over a specific song. First episode famously ending on a piano cover of The Winner Takes It All, as Samuel falls in love with Julie. Here we are getting the boldest use of music yet in the context of a children's choir. Like I said, Dimitri is shining in this episode and we understand he's more than just a popular guy, he has genuine love for what he does. And anyway, this is something recurring in the first half of the show. Those kids always want to prove their worth, seeking validation from the people they like. And as childish as it is, it's also profoundly humane. Here, Dimitri is thinking that maybe Julie will like his singing, and Samuel knows that. He knows it so well as the dude who holds his breathing at the swimming pool to get her attention. And Samuel is a guy that romances what happened, he always does. He feels like he's getting his crush stolen, and we literally see it that way. And before the credit rolls, he iconically says,
Jamais je dirai à Dimitri que j'ai bien aimé comment il chante.
Now I want to talk about the animation of the show and how good episode 7 is. In this one they all visit a castle with school and Samuel counts the number of times he crosses eyes with Julie. We also have Samuel, Current and Berenice moments, something I'm quite fond of, and now is the moment to talk about Berenice. Berenice is the little outcast in the class. She's weird, she's impulsive, she gets picked on. She's in love with Samuel and confesses to him, but he declines and she punches him in the belly. When she gets the chance to humiliate him because he pretended that he didn't love Julie, she runs for it. All in all, she's a fun and relatable character. We even get her point of view during episode 6, the only episode narrated by someone else than Samuel. But that's what she is, the single most important side character of the show, being eclipsed by Julie, of course. Always told Julie, the cool popular girl. Samuel says in this episode he doesn't like love anymore because he's still pissed at Dimitri being with Julie. A little thing I enjoy in this episode is like when the boys are being dumb and doing dumb drawings, when Berenice is like super skilled at it, and we never talk about it again, but that's just a little insight into who she is. Then they are in the field nearby and the coolest thing happens, l'épervier. If you're not familiar with this game, it's basically the French version of Bulldog. Anyway, just look at this. The show has obviously a striking visual identity, simple black and white and doodly style. The character design is really animation friendly and overall the simple layout allows for many breakthroughs. Almost every episode has incredible character acting, like look this episode in the rain and look at them moving. Or look at Julie waving in episode 2. Yeah, this one episode is about sick cats dying in the neighborhood, by the way. A lot of reference footage was made by Amélie for the show, who was originally into dance and choreography, and you can definitely see that in the numerous dance scenes. By the way, here's a little simple rule of Samuel narration in the first half: the characters dance when they're happy. It's a great and simple gimmick, it's fun, I love it. Now the fast-paced energy, the sequence building up from this alternative emo-ish pop song, this totally sold the project to me even more. What I like the most is that, as all things in cinema and animation, technical sequences are cool, but the narrative and emotional climax it implies is also very important. Like I said, the episode is about Samuel counting when he crosses eyes with his crush, and Berenice tags along as we know she likes him. Plus, she's the underdog, kind of. And now, this marvelous sequence, we're shown that she's so good at this. and the fact Samuel has to catch other kids finally leaves Bernice with him, as she doesn't have to run after him, but instead the show is starting to hint that there may be a meaningful connection between the two characters. So now you already have an idea of Samuel's storytelling and the emotions it can display, but it's more than that. The show is sensitive like no others, and more than emulating the mindset and emotions of a 10-year-old kid, it has this gentle look on memories that may feel mundane but are in fact containing a whole lot of beauty. And this is why I finally want to mention episode 8. And it's not even a Julie episode, she's not even mentioned. This one is about the boy's best friend Corentin, who recently lost his grandmother. He misses school a couple of days, during which the teacher asked the kids to make drawings for him. When he comes back, he's surprisingly calm, only his hair is unwashed. That's the only thing Samuel picks on, and it's actually a nice and subtle way of conveying a sense of negligence because of grief. Then we get to know Corentin is the kind of kid that takes dare, making all kinds of foolery each time he's asked to prove he can make it. Like I said earlier, the characters during the first half always want to prove their worth and convince people who they are. Corentin convinces people he's brave. Then Samuel dares him to run down the titular Descent of Death, a very steep street that makes running pretty dangerous. But this time Samuel is with him. They're going to do it together and they're going to dare death. Corentin will just look at death right in the eyes. They start running. Slowly Samuel gets behind and he just stops. But Corentin doesn't. He's still running as all the drawings he received from his class starts dropping from his bag, until he trips and falls on the ground. Samuel rushes to him, picking up all the drawings.
Ah bon?
Corentin looks at the drawings,
Tes dessins.
and this happens. I don't know how to convey more than what this scene does with barely no words. It's mastery, and man, just, I think I've never seen such a tender scene of friendship between two boys. It has a sensibility that just makes me feel every single choice of this scene is the right one, and by that point I started falling in love with the series for every single thing it is. We are 8 episodes in, 13 more to go, and it's only this good up until the end, if not more. During the end of Samuel's first half, we see Julie and Dimitri breaking up. Then there's a nice little summer holiday arc separating the primary school part with the middle school part. Those are cool episodes, but the most important element of it for the whole bigger picture is when Samuel writes a letter to Julie and finally confesses his feelings. Hey, you made it through the first half of the video. A little word about translation of Samuel. As of today, you cannot find Samuel fully translated in English. So I made it... Okay, no, that's not entirely true. First, I have to point there's a full Spanish dub, if you ever speak Spanish. But as for an English version, I contacted someone on Instagram named Uiwu, who made full English subs. So now, if you are interested, you can use the link in the description. I guess that when a real professional translation comes up, I'll replace my link with it. I totally recommend their Instagram though, because they make the coolest fan art about the show and I love it very much. Also, a word of disclaimer, I already kind of spoiled the first half of Samuel, but if you want to feel the rest of the show for yourself, please do. Please watch the whole series. Back to the video. Je vais faire une pause là parce que j'en peux plus en fait. Episode 14 is surprisingly long compared to the others. It's a rich episode, a lot happens because it sets the new status quo for the whole cast and even introduces new characters. And like always, it's not really an episode about being new in middle school, it's about how a boy feels about it in his little head. A boy we know and love, and he's heartbroken. This is actually revealed at the middle of the episode. Jolie never replied to the card, and now she's in another class, so you can just feel the whole fear of Samuel setting in, the dread of a new environment, his dearest landmark and the center of his world slowly fading away. Something precious may slowly fall into the past, and this time I'm not even showing the main sequence, the usual climax, because I think it's brilliant and doing a much better job at showing what I just told. The show is still the same, but we can feel it's about to become something else, and it already started. Samuel starts feeling a lot of things, and it wasn't him, encapsulated with this brilliant quote.
En fait, j'aime pas grandir parce que depuis que je suis née, je me trouve géniale. Et maintenant, je suis pas sûre si c'est vrai.
And I just love how from this point, our boy is naturally having to deal with new doubts and insecurities. He's starting being a little self-conscious, and as a natural reaction, he starts introspecting even more than he did before, leading up to this great 15th episode. Yeah, that's the one in which he writes anger on a shirt and writes a silly list to improve himself. There are many sequences I love that I don't want to straight up spoil, but I especially want to mention the one scene with Berenice. See, they walk home with each other now and have a chat about mangas she's been giving to him. Then she catches the list from earlier, and of course she teases him with it. He's pissed, so he says very mean stuff actually and leaves. And again, this just feels right. Samuel is on edge and doesn't understand Berenice being off in the first place, and Berenice is basically teasing the kid she likes. Then they make up for it on Emerson, which too is a pretty sequence about the relationship between the two. It's friendship, but you just know something may be happening somehow. As we are slowly getting to the end of Samuel, the 18th episode is a literal fever dream our boy is having, and it's the show's most ambitious episode yet. Not only from a technical perspective, showcasing greater animation material, it's also the episode that delivers a first kind of closure for Samuel towards Jolie. In his dream, she's found reading his diary, and she sees how much thoughts he had about her.
Tu m'aimes plus? Hein? Mais si. Pourquoi tu me demandes ça? Si. Julie.
At the end, he finally gets to bury one of the sick cats from his neighborhood, through which he had an interaction with Julie at the very beginning of the series. Everyone is present, and Julie gives back Samuel's diary, as if to say, "This story you started, it was because of me. Now you know what you have to do." And taking it back in his hands, Samuel walks away from her, alone. And this is the final piece forming the playground of the final 3 episodes of Samuel. Okay, last warning for spoilers here. Episode 19, 20 and 21 are strong episodes. They are all very meaningful, touching, and they form the conclusion of the story. The reason why Samuel works so well as a series and not a film is its usual climax structure. The show initiated the beginning of the end in the previous episode, and this time it's happening. Samuel and Julie sit next to each other on the bus, like they did in the first episode, which started everything. Julie liked him, and you can just feel the time stop for a moment when Samuel learns that. He's been dealing with it for some time now, especially after the letter thing. She actually was afraid, and you can feel it's different from when she was with Dimitri. Now you know these two characters have felt strong things for each other, and now it's gone. And it's okay, it's a nice closure, but this is how their relationship ends without ever really starting, and I think it's touching and even pretty complex to stomach. We are talking about first love in the lives of people. This boy we grew attached with is living a very important moment in his life, right before our eyes. In the beginning of this episode, he makes a sort of random craft project at school and he forgets it on his seat, which too makes him sad. And that's also one of my favorite things with Samuel. It wouldn't be as impactful if it was always about Julie, always about love and strong stuff, always about keeping the story forward. Most of the show is just made of simple moments from childhood, and I didn't mention it too much here, but it's also the main appeal, not even mentioning the gentle nostalgia it brings up. Playing in the rain, singing, listening to music, having a sleepover with friends, playing in the field, various other school memories, vacations, spending an afternoon with a girl you like. This final scene is from the next episode. It's a super fun episode, I love it, where Samuel and his friends are having fun with Bernice and her own friends, making for a really cute mix-up of gender dynamics, underlined by the fact they are all cross-dressing and fooling around with it. But more than experiencing the other gender's fashion and codes, they also pretend to be adults. And considering the focus on childhood this show makes, it's interesting, considering it's made by an adult that once was like the characters. You can feel it's meaningful, and this is why I'm bringing up this final scene. Because at this very moment I think something great happens. While the whole series has been from the point of view of a little boy, we now feel like something more is happening, like something that the boy can't really grasp, something that precisely will stay with him for the rest of his life without even really understanding how his first kiss. And this is when we get to the final episode, fittingly titled The End. I literally just realized something about Samuel writing these lines. I get the impression Samuel follows two types of events: things Samuel will write about in his diary and things he won't. Most of the time when an event is very strong, we don't get it narrated like other scenes, we just see them happen, most of the time without too much words. And I just love how the writing plays with this border of things that are told by the boy and things we just live with him, just like the Descent of Death moment, for example. I feel like the writing always makes the best choice between the two, sometimes even bordering over each options. You don't really feel it, but when Samuel outwardly says,
Elle était amoureuse de moi.
it's strong, it's special, it's unusual. The final episode is about three simple things Samuel wants to tell as he finally reached the final page of his diary. This is important, he's finishing the story, but he just tells simple things. He talks about the band he wants to make, about snow, and then he meets Bernice in her street to give her mangas back. And he just confesses. And it's awkward, it's clumsy. He thinks he likes her. He's still healing from the conclusion with Julie, but deep down he thinks it might work. He likes her. And we remember all the memories they shared together, how she precisely never really stopped liking him herself. And we remember them chatting on Amazon in episode 15 when they apologized for getting carried away, and chatting like this is something we've only seen Samuel do with Julie before, near the beginning of the show. As the final seconds of the show are unfolding, a song starts, and now the boy is writing the final words of his diary, and the final sentences spoken in Samuel are going to happen. Let's keep an eye on the text, and then we'll know what the last spoken words of this story are going to be.
I wanna be somebody. Me 2.0 for you. And when you meet somebody, you're gonna feel the same way I do. I'm gonna say I love you.
Samuel ends with the main character accepting that he will grow up and accepting whatever will happen next now that his story is over. It ends with the girl he likes liking him back, and it ends looking back on 21 episodes and nearly a year of childhood memories, a period of our life that is gone when we were very far from being the person we are today. Like everything, childhood fades away, but each and every second meant something. Samuel is heartbreaking because all along we've been watching something that is over. Something that happened 20 years ago with people who grew up, people who may have been separated in many ways by now. Samuel is the touching look of a sensitive creator about a part of life that just happened to stop at some point. In the end, Samuel is simply about living, accepting change, and moving on. It's about acknowledging doubt about ourselves and accepting this notion into caring about people we like. It's about all of that, and it's all lived by a boy named Samuel, who used to like a girl named Julie when he was 10 years old.
And you'll fall to the sky, only getting faster and harder. I will be the parachute to guide you safely to the water. And it may not be the you I'm used to. Some things remain the same, like your hair, your touch, your smile. say goodbye. So this is goodbye.